I want to bring in MSNBC legal analyst Lisa Rubin. Lisa, you literally just left the courtroom. You were there for the exchange we just talked about. We can read it, but you saw it. What did you see?
So, Chris, let's go back to even before the exchange. I did see at least one of the exchanges that the plaintiff's counsel was complaining about. Former President Trump had a bunch of very noticeable reactions. I'm sitting in the right-hand side of the courtroom in the back, so I have a diagonal view of former President Trump talking to his counsel. I did see him, for example, when the May 10th, 2023 Truth Social video was played in the courtroom, where he calls the verdict an absolute disgrace. I witnessed him mouth to Alina Habba, "That's true. I heard it as well." So Sean Crowley stood up for E. Jean Carroll, complained about 3 statements that former President Trump had made that were audible to those at the plaintiff's table, and she said must have been audible to the jury as well. That's when Judge Kaplan, for the second time today, reminded former President Trump that he should not be making comments that the jury could hear or that even audience members could hear, and then said, "You have a right to attend. You do not have the right to be disruptive or to disregard court orders. I hope that I do not have to remove you from the courtroom." And that's when Trump, just as Judge Kaplan said, couldn't help himself and said, "I know that you would like nothing more. I know you really want to do that." And Kaplan, more in sorrow than in anger, shook his head and said, "You just can't help yourself in these circumstances, can you?" And then Kaplan walked off the bench. I have the feeling, Chris, knowing Judge Kaplan and how he's controlled his courtroom so far, this isn't the last we've heard of it. And it's likely that we won't have to see another outburst from former President Trump for Judge Kaplan to revisit this subject. He has had very firm control of his courtroom in contrast to Judge Engoron. Multiple times he has said to Alina Habba things like, "If you don't have an objection, sit down. You're not here to make announcements." He is a person who's very intent on keeping control in his courtroom and for the most part has done it well so far.
And yet there's obviously some, what we can say in layman's terms, is crazy there. But I want to go back to something I heard you say in the very early hours this morning. I think it was on way too early, Lisa. So pardon me if I'm misquoting you, but it really struck me that you said something like, this is really about how much money is it going to take to shut up Donald Trump, right? And that's going to go back in large part, non-lawyer speaking, to the credibility of E. Jean Carroll on the stand. So you've been there. You've listened to her. Tell us what you think.
You know, I was at this first trial first, Chris, and I will say 2 things. One, there is no such thing as a perfect sexual assault victim. And if we're expecting perfection, E. Jean Carroll's not going to meet that standard. In fact, there are multiple circumstances in which she presented a face to the public that is at odds with the person who was receiving death threats, who was fearful for her life. And I thought her lawyer, Robbie Kaplan, did a nice job this morning of what lawyers, and Danny knows this well, call taking the sting out of some of those admissions, asking her to acknowledge that, for example, when she gave media interviews surrounding the publication of her book and said that she was doing well and felt like she was in a cocoon of love and support, that wasn't entirely true, that while she had received meaningful messages of support, she was also dealing with things like death threats that Robbie had gone through with her already. I think E. Jean Carroll is a credible plaintiff, but that doesn't mean that she is a perfect one. She is a person who has oftentimes done things that are somewhat at odds with what people, particularly people who don't know sexual assault and trauma victims, might expect people to say or do in the moment. But I thought E. Jean Carroll did a good job of explaining that there is a public E. Jean and a private E. Jean. And the public E. Jean was raised to be a buoyant cheerleader who was always cheering people on, knew all the answers, gave advice. And the private E. Jean was quiet, contemplative, and increasingly a person who is living with fear. And she said, "I've gotten to know that E. Jean better, and I like her."